You're welcome back. This Newsfile. Thank you very much. And I'm smiling because I'm reading some of the text messages and I'm not going to share them. Please admire the intelligence that they are expressing to you this morning. Now, this one says, really, I thought I was going to read a text message, but this is the bank that is paying for this show, Bank of Africa. They are strong as a group and close as a partner. They have banking products that are tailored to meet your personal and corporate banking needs. So like I always say, just pick your phone and call 0244 338 226, 0244 338 226, and discover a product that suits your lifestyle and business. Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner. On Sundays, the footballers meet at the park, the Omutu guys at the joints, and the church folk share the grace, and friends and family come to visit. But now with MTN Sunday special, your Sunday just got more special. For only 50 pesos, you can text and talk all day, every Sunday. So who is it that you are talking to that you really love? Is it your mom, dad, sister, brother, or that special somebody? Just keep talking all day, every Sunday with MTN Sunday Special. Send the word yes, Y-E-S, yes, to MTN short code 5050, 5050 to sign up and say welcome to the new world. MTN everywhere you go. A few more of your messages here, and Batingi Prudence says something. I think Article 36 of the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations gives right to embassies to intervene. Not intervene, just to give them the courtesies that they deserve if your citizen is in trouble. Frank Kojo Asare Anderson Jr. says, I am enjoying the calmness being displayed by your female panelists. Very refreshing, far away from the usual, coca, or yentijai discourse, and people talking over each other. Let's get more women in frontline politics. We live in a country where people refuse to take responsibility for their own actions and suffer the consequences. That is the reason we may be surprised Nayeli accepted her charge. How about admitting her lawyers did a great job by advising her not to contest the case in order to reduce her sentence? Well, that's what some people say about lawyers in this country, but it's not always correct too. This one I'm inside, so let me say something. Sometimes we get them to plead guilty and then we mitigate for them when in fact they are really guilty and they admit to being guilty. A lawyer's job is to take the instruction of the client. If the client says, I'm not guilty, you can't force her or him to say he or she is guilty. And this is from Danny Kwejo Ampofo. It says, stop harassing the NDC woman defending the indefensible. Okay, I don't think I'm harassing her. Hassan Malik says, something as usual, using his program with the help of MPP and CPP to run NDC down. Okay, so the two of you, which one should I take? Okay, go sort yourselves out. Okay, all right, so very interesting, and I must also admit to you that I'm really enjoying the show, and with Kukubaku behind the background, supporting rare artillery, giving rare artillery support, like my very good friend Paco Akwe will say. Kukubaku is taking his holiday, and I won't disclose which venue he is at the moment. Yes. Ilyasu Haruna in Tamale says, on the scale of 1 to 10 score, I scored the president 1. None of the so-called projects enumerated by agents of the government was started by the president. Meanwhile, all the projects put together is around $3 billion. What happened to the rest of the over 23 billion? The government should tell us how they have made living conditions stable. What has been done to curb corruption that is pervasive under the government. Enough of the NDC lies. D Stones to 4 says, Samson, I like your shirt. And that is where I say, look for Latida. They will make you look very good. Now, let's move on to fuel. We have had the world crude prices tumbling over the period, getting to all-time lows. And the expectation had been that Ghanaians will enjoy the windfall. Unfortunately, we're being told that we cannot have that. I want us to listen to the president briefly. He justifies the 10% reduction and says that is a significant, drastic drop. Occupy Ghana, you know them. They say, no, that should not be taken at all, and that, in fact, they may be heading to court to compel the government to make sure that the automatic adjustment formula, pricing formula, is followed to the letter. It's an automatic policy. Let it work on its own. Who is it that is turning the automatic policy to a manual policy? Of course, you have heard other people say the president's suggestion of a levy, a new levy, mitigation levy, is also an additional burden that ought to be rejected from the word go. Let's hear the president briefly on the fuel issue, and then we'll come to discuss it.
MPA Kotona say they have reduced by 10%. Now, say, are they 100%? New way 10%. I know any drastic.
Yeah, yeah,
can say are they 100%? New way you want 10%. What's the any drastic? 10% is very significant. It is a case, Yanti Petrol, so near fire to infantry. A toa, ye free amount for no honor, and one ye debate a car at the home. Says he can, and KB, I bet me the C school. And so Samuka said, Yanteso, we can do that, but then it means that and put to a cosono to slow down. Into a cano at the home, my yina. And tis Ocaso, Yate, a bono, or Amanone, into or see at Teso, send Yate or Amanone, Neja cano at the home, homia. At Toa, and Kaya de Bequaco yet, so for like interchange, yet the better BDCs. And you can't eat your cake and have it. And the MP Bessat Ashe, you know, and then adjust it again. Yet to meet you if you want, my dream may say, I will see a mitigation levy at this Kebiton chain. Because our oil price here for me, it won't go down forever. At that bedroom, a Bessan Costro. Now, we will need something to mitigate or hedge the price. We won't take the full hits of the price increase. And in my dream, I will say, Parliament, bar, almost dream, near share, baby, it says it can better. What I say, any excess recovery, no. You say, let's put it in a mitigation fund. Send a bear or be surprised, no. I start to cost right. Give to me a mitigation fund, maybe I call hedge, say, this is the price Ghanaians will pay.
Right, that was the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, in that interview with Kwame Adinkra of Angel FM. Now, what do you say? We are also beginning to see that, what do you call it, transport fares are supposed to go down by 5%. We are being promised that it may go down further, but it's about whether the drivers are implementing it.
We need to do a flashback in time to what the NDC told us, the government, about fuel going up at $147 per barrel. It didn't just happen. It happened gradually, and yet the administration of the MPP at the time managed to bring it down to 50 cedis, to 5 cedis, and some pesos. And they still said a kufu gallon. And now, before it's wicked, MPP is wicked, JJJJJ. Then it came to 3 cedis, and 40 pesos, or 3 cedis and 20 pesos, something. You remember the Ahoys, they took blackboard and went from market to market to teach people about this store levy and the formula for the adjustment of fuel and all that. Oh, Ghana. And today, with all the CJ, something joint action.
Yes, Committee for Joint
Yes,
Action.
even President went, Atamils went on demonstration and all that.
Yes, I joined that once. I covered them once.
Thank you.
The President was in front.
Thank you.
All their voices
Then today, we are back at the same spot where even the prices have been less than half. The Brent crude, I understand, is the one that is about 51, but the lower ones are even under 40. It's about 47, 49. And the president is telling us that 10% is drastic.
Significant.
When you told us that you were going to reduce fuel drastically, I'll use Kwesi Praswe, Alabaraka president. What is 10%? 10% is 1 cedi, 50 pesos if the thing was 15 Ghana. So how can that be drastic in anybody's imagination? You see, to be able to address the needs of a developing country, we must tackle our debts, we must grow the economy, provide a strong cedi, ensure that inflation is not rising too high and so forth. And so, if world prices have come so low, and all over the world, they are reducing fuel prices so that the windfall will be felt by the citizenry. Then you tell us that you have done well, we should clap for you because 10% is drastic. In whose imagination will 10% be drastic when it has been halved? Minimum that Ghanaians should be paying for fuel should either be between 8 cedis and 10, not more than that. From everything. We should not make the same mistakes. Under the MPP administration that you said that even at 5 cedis to 3 cedis, it was wicked. Under President Mahama, we should call it what? It is insensitive. It goes beyond wicked because you can reduce it. You've been able to find money to send 4.5 million cash to Brazil. You've taxed everything in this country. Even condoms, when you are preaching HIV. When we talked, then you brought it down. How can you tell us that 10% is drastic? It's unbelievable. It is thievery. It is no longer even robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's robbing Peter to pay Peter. You cannot take money. Please, I beg you, let me land. You cannot take money.
Because of time, we'll deal with these matters very briefly. So we can
you cannot take money from the people and then tell us that you will not even give us half of it. That is what it is. Because we are paying taxpayers' money that is going through all these things. And so, I feel strongly that this fuel matter that has come and it has been reduced all over the world, the government of the day must give us this better Ghana agenda, advancing it and reduce it drastically means bring it down to half.
I see.
And then, I beg you, and then, not to politicize it, but to tell the people of Ghana that this toll levy, the money that they are taking, what are they doing with it? The BDCs are telling us that government has accumulated 1.5, is it billion?
Yeah, 1.5 billion.
Government too is saying it's not like that.
It's 412, is it?
We want the truth on these issues. They should not lie to the people again.
Well,
it
so
is
far,
not about
using the windfall, they have been able to pay
propaganda.
about 200 million of that amount.
The last one, when the prices fell, that was when government introduced the 17.5%. What kind of wickedness is that? 17.5% when prices are falling. That's when you are introducing it to fuel products. Please,
thank you.
The president must stop this thing and then address our needs.
Are you able to look at it from the president's perspective? He says there are certain circumstances that we should not ignore. We have a debt to pay. Why don't we take advantage of the windfall and pay some of the debt? Otherwise, we'll get to a situation where we will not even have fuel on the market because the suppliers will not be able to give us. We've had one of such situations where we couldn't find fuel to buy.
I can appreciate the president's stand if I have an in-depth understanding of the process. We have a debt to pay. Of course, we come to whose debt are we paying as Ghanaians. We want to know one way or the other. Yes, it is our debt once it's a Ghanaian debt, right? But what's the process? Again, it's vague. When are we finishing this debt? And I say that constantly. Ghanaians, we're so reasonable, frankly. We are very reasonable. Regardless of which political party is in power, we're ready to go with you. We're ready to sacrifice with you, provided you're also sacrificing. So whose debt are we paying one? What's the process? When are we finishing the paying of this debt? You're taking this amount of this percentage. How long? You understand? Mm-hmm. Can we understand this process? Then we would say that, yes, we are with you, Mr. President. We have to pay this debt. We're paying, and we're paying to the end. So that we don't, President and the team does not come to play with the politics of it. So when we scream, then they change it and give us the reduction. If we are quiet, then they will leave it as it is. But if there's a process, if everybody understands the process, we are all part of it, we may not even complain. Because frankly, we don't love it, of course, when we have money and we can get fuel. When that time happened in Ghana, frankly, I'm not sure any of us, not only those who have cars, those of us who have to go by Petrol, and you go to the station, there are no cars because there's no fuel.
Stable electricity, energy, exactly. You need to buy fuel to power
so we appreciate really, and we would love to have it. So we would want to know the process. We'll know how much we have to sacrifice, at what time we have to sacrifice, to what end, and when are we done with it? Then
Once
we can
again,
appreciate
a lot more clarity, transparency.
Exactly.
And don't wait for media come asking before you start telling us stories. I think that doesn't also help, like Afi is saying. Now, Nanama, we are also being asked, now the price, is gone, down, then we are insisting that we need to benefit. When it goes up to a point where if government decides to pass it on to us by an automatic adjustment formula, shall we accept it?
This automatic adjustment mechanism somehow seems to be always weighted in favor of the government. I mean, it's like somebody who is selling something on the roadside with a weighing scale, and the scale is always in his favor. I mean, it's almost like 419 sometimes. I mean, there are, sometimes I feel it's a lot of spin to hide the fact that the government's coffers are empty, that we are running on very low fuel. I mean, that's figuratively. There's galloping inflation, we are having serious economic difficulties, and this is one of the manifestations. And instead of, coming to some agreement with us, they're saying 10% is that's your lot, and in fact, be grateful for it. It's not just the petrol. Our utilities, again, it's the automatic adjustment mechanism that operates there. And every time the price goes higher, but we don't get the services. Customer services, non-existent. Electricity, you go and top up your credit, but you're not getting electricity. Meanwhile, the price was raised something like four or five times last year, or within 2 years, we only, things only go up. And then we get frightened with this threat that now that you're asking for a reduction, you just wait till prices go up and then you come back to us. And when things are low, fine. When things are high too, why is it that the government does not want to take responsibility for that? Again, I will keep on harping on the fact that it is evidence that then there is a need for a properly costed and planned economy, because things come out of the woodwork and then there's some kind of response to it, and then something, we're always firefighting. But if it is a properly planned economy, this won't happen. Okay. And all you get is, Ghanaians, be grateful for what we are doing for you. No, it is our taxes that pay for that. It is our overall wealth. The oil or whatever belongs to all of us. Okay. Look at the United States. Let me finish here. The United States currently are enjoying 2009 prices at the pump. What what is happening here is that it's the drivers, the trotro and taxi drivers, who are getting blamed for not passing on the reduction, the 10% reduction to members of the public. At the end of the day, food has to be brought from the interior. Cocoa prices are skyrocketing, $2,900 a ton. But we don't have the roads, we don't have the vehicles to even bring them to port, let alone food that we eat. You know, this is evidence that the economy is not working.
I see. Abigail, what do you say to what the president says? I know some of those who are in the industry feel it's okay to talk about a mitigation levy so that we can put money aside when the prices go so much up. It will not be government having to dip its hands into its chest, but because we would have saved some money, we'll use that money, you know, to take care of that situation. What do you say about that?
Okay, first of all, I want to say that I think in 2008, fuel prices went down to $147. It was consistent for like 3 weeks in June.
Was it up to 3 weeks?
Let's say roughly 3 weeks. Nothing was done about it by the then government. It went on to December, it reduced again to I think about, is it 32?
So can we move on from that point?
Now, what I want to draw your attention to is that in just a few months, when the prices were going up, government took some of the burden. He didn't pass everything on to the consumer. By then, there was still automatic adjustment, but we still took the burden. Now, the price is down. It's come to 47. Yeah. And government is saying that we are owing BDCs. So we've paid, it was about around 400,000. No.
Million.
400, yeah. And we've paid close to about
1.5.
Well, the BDC says it's 1.5. We don't have any contracts with them anyway.
We've paid, it was 420. We've paid 250. We are left with 170, which we are looking at by ending February. We should have finished paying. That is the information we have available. So by February ending, if the prices are still at the same price, then we assume that then we'll go back to the automatic adjustment as it were. As it stands now, government has only spoken to the people that, look, we still owe these people, so let us finish paying them. And like you were saying, timelines, we've given February.
Okay,
the timelines are with you.
We have very limited time
We're
now.
not with us, the public.
Thank you. So we're taking our very final break here. We'll return and try and then we'll have some 10 minutes, I think. We'll try and see if we can look at the issue that's presently before court in respect of the throwing out of the injunction application over the GMPC $700 million loan, which will no longer, presently as we speak, go to Parliament before they secure that for whatever they need to use it for. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show. And I'm getting a text message from the USA. This one is coming from Yawansu. I'm sure you know Yawansu. He was with us at Joy FM here before he left for the US. He says, something here in the US, we buy a gallon of petrol at $1.60. How come Ghana with less than $2 daily minimum wage pay around $6? Why is this government so wicked? Okay, see the way you put it. Why is this government so wicked? And then also a certain reaction to Otiko on an issue. This one from Divine. He says, Is Otiko saying that because a certain Woyome is a consular, so he has the authority to issue Austrian passport to a Ghanaian? Okay, that's a question that someone else is asking. Divine. Now, we go to the GMPC matter, and let's start briefly with lawyer and MP Atta Acha. Good morning and welcome to Newsfile, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Great to have you. Now, what's going to be your next line of action? The injunction that you sought to place on GMPC from going ahead with the loan has been thrown away. The judge, in her judgment, which I have read, her ruling, which I have read, was very emphatic in saying that GMPC is not government. I'm quoting, GMPC is not government, and that you were not able to establish the need to stop them in this particular process. So what's going to happen now?
Well, when the law speaks, and we are careful not to speak outside the court because it becomes sometimes offensive and people will say you want to undermine administration of justice. And also because I'm a patient, I don't have to inject myself. You know by now that I'm a litigant.
Yes, you are. You are one of the three MPs, yourself, yes, Dr. Osei, and Matthew Poku Prempe.
Yeah, but I would have loved that my lawyer would do it. But I will attempt to tell you a few things.
Yes, and briefly, yeah.
It is sad indeed that the judge is saying that GMPC is not government. But if you look at section 17.2 of the very law that gave birth to GMPC, matters of borrowing are subjected to section Article 181 of the Constitution, which means very clearly that GMPC is now at the heart of section Article 181 of the Constitution. What that means is that without parliamentary approval, you can't take the money. You see, because if you didn't give it that interpretation, which is so clear on the face of the law, what that will mean is that you've given GMPC unfettered powers to go and borrow. Meanwhile, GMPC is 100% government-owned, and if GMPC should go bankrupt, it's the same government that will have to go into the national kitty to bail out, GMPC.
Senior, respectfully, you refer to these provisions of the law, and the ruling, the judge was very clear in her mind. She says that, and I quote, GMPC is not government, according to the Supreme Court. For this reason, it seems to me that there is no breach of law as alleged by the applicants. She says there's no breach of law.
Oh, there's an obvious breach of the law because, you see, the judge confused the situation of the Supreme Court case in which was said that Gapoha could go into economic transactions.
The Clomega case.
The Clomega case. So the Clomega case makes it very apparent that, when it comes to entering into international contracts, you don't need parliamentary approval. That could be understood. But not when you are borrowing. So when you confuse the borrowing powers of statutory body with its capacity to enter into international agreements, that can occasion a travesty of justice.
Okay, so now this is my question. You were saying that the judge was not clear in her mind or must have been confused in this direction. So what's going to happen? It appears to me clearly that even the substantive suit may have been done with by this interlocutory process.
Well, to a reasonable extent, because if you look at what we are seeking to do, and now the president has been said that statutory body has unfettered powers to go and borrow, whilst the government of the day should come via parliament to have the budget approved. You see how illogical and inconsistent the decision can be if we stretch it that far. What we're going to do are one or two things. We could discontinue the action, or we could appeal the decision, the ruling, and then repeat, the application in the Court of Appeal. Or we can also go to the Supreme Court to give us a constitutional interpretation as to whether or not GMPC, being a creature of the law, could go and borrow money in levels at his own pleasure.
Okay, in 1 minute, tell me, you are saying that you may discontinue this whole case and then go to the Supreme Court and start a fresh one. Are you sure you are able to go to the Supreme Court? But because the Supreme Court finally said that having gone through the Balkan Energy case and through the other cases to the Klomega case, that should be the end of it. If you have any other issues in respect of interpretation in this regard, go to the High Court.
Wow. That would mean that the Supreme Court doesn't want to interpret the Constitution any longer. What if there are nuances?
It is tired of interpreting that provision.
Well, but this is very special.
Okay.
Very, very special because here's a statutory body attempting to convert powers it doesn't have. If you said GMPC could borrow money without due regard to parliamentary approval, then you are saying that GMPC can even overborrow more than the government itself. And that is weird. You see, let me tell you, this is a very dangerous precedent to set. If the government will have to come to Parliament, President Mohammed's budget, President Mohammed could not spend unless, he brought his budget to Parliament. The almighty government has to come to Parliament. A little soul in the realm of Ghana called GMPC has unfettered powers to go and borrow. The absurdity is so obvious that the Supreme Court will not waste time in setting aside this decision.
Okay, and thank you very much. Since you appear to be very sure that the Supreme Court will set this aside, we'll await what your next step will be. Thank you very much. Our time is consumed already. I'm grateful.
I'm also very grateful for
thank you.
Short time.
Atachia is MP and also a lawyer, but in this particular situation, he is a litigant. He together with two other MPs are in court seeking to stop the GMPC from taking a loan without recourse to parliamentary approval. And the courts said very emphatically that they cannot stop them now on the interlocutory process. They went for an injunction. That injunction has been thrown away. Now, Nanama, what's your preliminary comments about this? Briefly, in just some 1 minute.
When a family, the parents are the ones who bring in the income. And a mother and a father can sit down and look at their budget and approve that, yes, if we're going to get a loan from somewhere, we're going to use it for this and this and that. We have TOR. It was set up to develop our petrochemical industry. Today we have BDC that is importing refined oil. Meanwhile, we are drilling oil along our coasts. Yeah? Okay, that aside. So GMPC now says it wants unilaterally to go out there and borrow money without even bringing it to Parliament. If the government, if the administration takes its budget to Parliament for scrutiny and approval, how come that little entity by the side wants to go out there and get money without being subject to Parliament and lumber ourselves and our descendants for repayment for centuries later? It's not right. It's not right. It's not right because
I think they are doing this and they have the support or the backing of the law. So what is our problem? That they can go ahead and take $7 million without going to Parliament. And in any case,
where does
they are doing
it end?
With the support of their law. And
where
the court
does
has
it end? Cocoa Board could do the same.
And now we're being told that, in fact, eventually, they are doing it with the approval of the Minister of Finance. Eventually, the Minister of Finance will submit to Parliament all that they are doing about it, and they will deal with it. So what's our problem?
Right. With me, it's a matter of what the law says. Is GMPC a body corporate? Yes. Is GMPC allowed to go in such commercial transactions? Yes. Is it a matter of morality? Is it a matter of transparency? GMPC has a governing body. Is it active? Will it be able to give the interest of the Ghanaians? Yes or no? I leave it to the public to decide. Then comes the issue of, when you look at the law that established GMPC, I believe, quickly on borrowing powers, it says that GMPC can do this subject to Article 181 And it goes on to say that the corporation would be able to borrow money.
And Article 181 is that government cannot borrow without.
But it says may, and so you are the lawyer. You can help us with that. It says may first and foremost, and then it says government. And I don't know whether it goes into the details of body corporates like GMPC. I mean, it's a matter of the law for me.
Okay.
So if it is also a matter of transparency, if it's a matter of ethics and guarding the interest of the Ghanaians, some may ask, really, will Parliament guard our interest, especially in this issue where we go with the majority? So what is our issue? Some also argue that, and I had a conversation with Khalid, thank you very much, Khalid, which came out. He says that GMPC is a giant sleeping, and we're expecting it to be even as bigger as, you know, big corporations, which could actually be bigger than the nation, depending on how wide. And so what our issues, interestingly, are not how much they're taking, what the money is going to be used for, whether it is going to make GMPC better, but the process, which we actually even doubt whether it's going to be in the interest of Ghana.
Sorry, but sorry to you, Otiko, and also to Abigail. We are unable to continue. The time just catch up with us. My outfit is provided by Latida. You call Latida on 020-433-6444, 020-433-6444, and also Bank of Africa. Their number is 0244-33-8226. My guests have been Otiko Afisa Jaba, National Women's Organizer of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Amano, she's the Amamo. She's the head of new media and member of the communications team of the CPP. Afi Agbenyo is a social activist. I'm sure you loved her this morning also. And Abigail Elom Akwambia Mensah is with the NDC. I'm Samson Ladia Yeneni. I've been your host. And this show was produced by Sedem Ofori with support from Sami Odami, Emmanuel Ante, Matilda Omega, and of course, Kwabena Asante. Have a good afternoon. The news is up next.